everybody, and welcome back to the Bay Bolts channel for this episode of Quick Strike, where the Tampa Bay Lightning have defeated the Florida Panthers by a score of 4-0. Yes, another Andre Vasilevsky shutout. We'll get to him in just a little bit, but the Lightning have won this game to advance to round number 2. They win this series by 4, taking 4 games to 2. As always, my name is Jake Ricker, alongside my good friend and co-host Michael Wax. Michael, I can't wait to ask you this time. How you feeling today?
Relieved. We talk all the time about how we never want to be there for a game 7 if it's not our team, or if it is our team. We'd love to see the game 7s if it's not our team, but it's so stressful when it is our team. And the Lightning played probably their best overall game of the series, and I cannot wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So let's start off and going through this period by period. We'll talk about a couple players individually at the end. But starting off with the first period, it seemed like a pretty even matchup between these two teams, which is what you expected coming into this series. And, you expect the Florida Panthers to play one of their best games tonight, knowing their season was on the line. But it was lots of back and forth. But it was the Lightning getting on the scoreboard. I think, Michael, that's a big part of the reason the Lightning have had so much success in this series is that even when the Panthers are maybe playing a little bit better than the Lightning are capitalizing on their chances. On their first shot on goal, Pat Maroon puts one in the back of the net after getting fined for the last game after throwing some players down right at the end of the game. But Pat Maroon gets Lightning on the board, and the Lightning lead it 1-0 at the end of one.
Yeah, well, you saw how we felt about what Pat Maroon did at the end of Game 5, and, it wasn't the best representation of the Lightning, in my opinion. But Pat gets on the board here. A great hustle play by Tyler Johnson to negate the icing, getting Spencer Knight out of his crease. The Florida defenders, both of them went towards Tyler Johnson, getting him wide open to pass it to Pat Maroon for the tip in goal. And Amalie Arena just exploded. Like, I was listening on NBC, so I didn't really hear the crowd because they really have the crowd toned down, but you could see in the pictures, you could see in the Bally Sports videos, that crowd just went ballistic. And the best thing that I could say about the Lightning, even though they lost game 3 in overtime, Amalie Arena's crowd really does bring the best out of them. And they played a solid game 4 for the most part before it devolved into non-hockey. And then game 6, ultimately we just said earlier was their best game of the series. And it really helps that you have a solid, passionate home crowd there. So good on Pat Maroon getting on the board. And hopefully that is sign of things to come for Tyler Johnson because his effort has been there over the last couple of games. But the points really just came today.
Yeah, well, he's really been playoff Tyler Johnson, so to speak.
Mm.
He has been really good, even though he hasn't had a ton of points. But not always points on the board doesn't if you're not having points doesn't mean that you're not having success. So moving into the second period, the Lightning would continue to pick things up here, and they had a couple of power play opportunities in this second period. There was a couple going both ways as well. The Lightning had one, and then Florida had two as well. And then, it it seemed like Florida, the Lightning on the penalty kill was just fantastic. And a lot of that, I think, is also due to Barclay Goodrow coming back. We'll have to get to more a little bit later, but he was fantastic in his return. He didn't have any points in this game, but you could tell his presence was felt, especially on the penalty kill as well. Lightning, eventually, they do capitalize on the power play as it's Steven Stamkos putting one home on the power play. He had missed a couple in the period before, but he made sure this one goes in the back of the net, and it's a 2-0 Lightning lead at the end of the two periods.
Yeah, Steven Stamkos finally getting on the board. We had really not necessarily criticized, but we were uh, kind of upset that he was just missing the net. And in Game 5, he wasn't really available to see. Like, we didn't notice him a ton. Getting on the board here is huge. And a lot of people call him, well, just a power play guy. That was his first goal on the power play in this entire series. So really nice passing play, very similar to literally every other goal that Stamkos scores because Hedman would pass it to Kucherov, Kucherov would pass it back to Hedman, over to Stamkos. Stamkos shoots it over the blocker of Spencer Knight. I thought Knight played an okay game, considering that he played so well in game five. But the Lightning did what they failed to do in game five, which was generate chances in spurts. I thought overall, like after that first period, they really failed to generate any sort of scoring chances. Today, or in the game, they had a couple in the first and they capitalized on one. They had a couple in the second, they capitalized on one. They had a couple in the third. We'll get to that because they capitalized on one with Braden Point. But overall, in terms of Stamkos, very happy to see him get on the score sheet. I don't know, and I hope that this is just not a power play thing, as I mentioned earlier. I hope he continues to try to score at 5-on-5.
Yeah, I agree, and I think he will. There doesn't seem any signs for me personally that says Stamkos is going to continue his struggling 5-on-5. But he was great in Game 6. But going into the third period, oh, by the way, I do think Spencer Knight played a good game. Remember, you got to remember this is his second playoff game against the defending Stanley Cup champion. He's 20 years old. The future is definitely bright for Spencer Knight. But going into the third period,
To give some context, he's younger than both of us.
yeah, exactly. And we're over here trying to make YouTube videos and playing NHL hockey. But going into the third period, you're as a Lightning fan, you're thinking, okay, good. We're up 2-0. We're one of the best teams after leading after two. But you're thinking, just don't do what we did in the last game where they played super defensive heading in the third period and ended up losing the game. Luckily, the Lightning did no such thing and they played a great period of hockey. But Michael, we have to talk about this Braden Point goal because holy cow, what a move by Braden Point. He danced through a couple defenders and then went around, got Spencer Knight to commit and just made him look foolish, basically, and put the one in the back of the net to give the Lightning a 3-0 lead later in the third period. And then later in the game, Florida Panthers would pull their goalie to try and do anything they could to try and keep their season alive. But Alex Killorn put in the dagger, got the empty netter, and the Lightning would go on to win this one 4-0. But wow, what a goal by Braden Point. And to the Panthers' credit, they did put everything on the line. And the Lightning had to make some really good defensive stops, which they did.
Yeah, and credit to the Panthers again. They played pretty well overall. Andre Vasilevsky was up to the task at every single shot. That's why he got the shutout. That Braden Point goal, probably one of the nicest goals you're going to see in these playoffs. Getting around a couple of defenders. I don't know what Jonathan Huberdeau was doing on that play. It really seemed like his controller died and he just was standing there. But it was a play that happened in slow motion, and I was just really surprised at the end result because it just seemed like, well, the Panthers have all the opportunity in the world to stop Braden Point, and they never did. And then it just went in the back of the net because it felt like the play was going on in slow motion. Really impressed with Braden Point in this series overall, but you could really tell, and I think these rest days are going to help him, that he was wearing down a little bit. And Braden Point is the engine of this team because we saw that in game one, even with Kucherov and Stamkos back, they needed Braden Point with tying and winning goals. I'm very happy that he's going to get those rest days because he was getting exhausted. And even on this play, he did score the goal. It was a highlight reel goal. But like I said, it felt like a slow motion goal. Like he was not at his regular speed. And I think that ultimately that's what made the goal so impressive. So cannot wait to see Braden Point at full speed for round two.
He wasn't at his regular speed, and he still scored that goal, which was
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. That should tell you a lot. But I want to quickly get into a couple players and Michael ask you who your series MVP is. I think this is a really tough question because there are so many guys that could deserve it. But again, as you mentioned, Andre Vasilevsky with the shutout, he was fantastic in this game. Barclay Goodrow in his return, which by the way was totally not expected. John Cooper kind of just threw that to the wayside when he was asked about it, like, yeah, hope to have him back soon. We'll see. And said nothing else, but he was back in the lineup and he was great tonight, as I mentioned earlier before. Uh, Alex Killorn had a great game. There was a lot of guys that played really well. Ryan McDonough has also been fantastic this series. Also, I want to give a shout out to David Savard. I thought he played one of his best games in a Lightning uniform. He had a great play where he broke up a 2-on-1, got down to block the cross pass. A fantastic job by him. So, Michael, I'll let you go first. Who is your series MVP for the Lightning?
Yeah, you brought up a lot of guys that had done really well in the closing game in terms of David Savard and Barclay Goodrow. My MVP is Ryan McDonough. Like this team does not win without Ryan McDonough because of the other options that they had on the left-handed side of defense. Hedman, for as good as he is and as good as he was in Game Five, he really or Game Six, excuse me, he really struggled throughout the rest of the series. He did not look like himself defensively, even though he kept on putting up points. And eventually, hopefully, we'll get to this. Mikhail Sergachev, I don't know if you could use him. Like he has performed so poorly in these playoffs. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if it's mental, but he has been very poor. And so Ryan McDonough has been playing over 25 minutes a night, basically, with Eric Chernak, who ultimately also deserves an honorable mention because he's been playing with Ryan McDonough. But McDonough has been great. He's been jumping up in the play, he's been defensively responsible. He is one of the reasons that the Lightning had such an easy time in some of those games, like game 4, where they won 6-2. Ultimately, it's up to Ryan McDonough to shut down the Panthers, like Barkov and Huberto and Verhage and all those other guys, and allow the offensive guys to do their thing. So, McDonough isn't on the score sheet as much as you might like from, say, a Victor Hedman. But in this series, he was a lot more defensively responsible than Victor Hedman.
Yeah, he was fantastic. A lot of people are comparing him to the Ryan McDonough of 2014. He looks fantastic right now, which is really good to see. You need all of your guys to step up big when it comes playoff team. Personally, I'm going to go with Andre Vasilevsky as my series MVP. He is just outstanding. I love the comments from him after the game. He was talking about how he was or Bishop was a huge mentor to him, which I've said before on this channel. You know, that tandem right there, and Vasily learning from Bishop was huge for him. But he gave Bishop a lot of credit, which was really cool to see as well. But there were some moments there where the Florida Panthers were really pushing, especially in the third period, where they could have easily gotten a couple of goals, and Vasilevsky just made some outstanding saves. So, who knows how this series could have gone? Who knows how this series could have gone without a lot of these players, because they all mostly did their part and played really well. Sergachev has been struggling. There's actually a tweet that said, while the Lightning were waiting for the Panthers to clear the ice so they could do their fan salute, Sergachev was waving goodbye at the Florida Panthers team as they're going down the tunnel. I think the Panthers might have been in his head a little there, which could have been why he was struggling. But Michael, anything else to add before we wrap up this video?
Yeah, I really think the rest days are really going to help out the Bolts, and it's really nice considering that the Nashville Carolina series is going to at least tonight as we're filming this. It might go game 7 with the way that every game has been won by the home team. And I hope it does go 7 games, give the Lightning a little bit more rest, especially someone like Sergachev, who got hit really hard in game 4, or Barclay Goodrow, who's coming right back off an injury. I think those guys could really use it. And then, as far as Sergachev goes, if he struggles game 1 of round 2, you really have to look at Frederick Claesson as the third right hand or left-handed defenseman. Give Sergachev a game off, get his head right, hopefully heal up some injuries, and then get right back at it in game 3. Because the way he's playing, he's costing the team. And he wasn't that bad in game 6. But again, that's because the Lightning as a whole played so well. And I think that when we look at round 2, they're going to keep having to play well because if it's Carolina coming out of it, Carolina probably is the best team coming out of the Eastern Conference. If it's besides us, of course, if it's Nashville, there's a reason Nashville's got there. There's a reason they upset Carolina.
Right.
So we'll get to that in the series preview eventually when we find out who they're playing.
Yes.
But overall, you need to keep playing your best, and hopefully they continue their Game 6 stuff.
Yeah, well, as Michael mentioned, we're going to be either playing the Carolina Hurricanes or the Nashville Predators. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on our series preview when that does come out. They are playing in Game 6 tonight as of this recording. We're hoping it may go 7 games so Lightning can get some more rest and they can get more tired, but only time will tell how that will play out. Let us know in the comments down below who you'd rather play, if there's a team you prefer, or if you really don't care and you think the Lightning can beat anybody. Because that's something that I think about a lot. I think, it doesn't matter who we take on, but let us know. We'd love to hear any and all thoughts in the comments down below. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Bay_Bolts for our live game coverage. We do giveaways on there. We just did an Alec Killorn hat giveaway, so you definitely want to be following us over there for any future giveaways that we might do. We also ask for questions occasionally, and we love to hear from you guys as well. But again, that's going to do it for us for Jake Ricker and Michael Wax. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And remember, your defending Stanley Cup champions are moving on to round number 2.
Go Bolts.